video provides some simulations as supplementary information for the Quasiprobability project. We actually believe the experimental data we presented in the previous video should be sufficient for our conclusions, but denying perfect state preparation assumption may be surprising to you. Trust me, I was very surprised, but I had to respect the real data. Now, I'll show you with simulations that if you already had a noisy initial state, you won't get good correction with only readout error mitigation. Many people may think of qiskit when it comes to simulations. I tried qiskit too, but qiskit may not be suitable for this. With qiskit, the state preparation error is small, especially if we want to push it to an extreme. That is, we set readout error as 0. Perfect measurement. Only state preparation error. However, it seems that we just can't really do that with qiskit. Besides, qiskit mimics the quantum device. So for those measurement results of superposition states, like the plug states, it won't give you exactly 15% for ground state and 15% for excited state. It will yield something around that with the small fluctuations. This feature is good in general. It is useful for most simulations, but not suitable for our purpose. Our purpose is to check if our conclusion is valid. We don't want to introduce one more factor to affect this. So, we don't want that fluctuations. We end up writing our own scripts so that we can make everything in the way we need. All simulations showed that if we had noisy initial states, but we assume they are error-free and push these errors into measurement, our correction would be fine for those states that quasi-probability already recorded. But it could go dramatically wrong for new states. There were chances that this invalid assumption wouldn't affect. That is, if the error is simple enough. For example, if there is just a depolarizing error, then it doesn't matter if this error is in state preparation or in measurement. If we check the gram matrix, we can see that this type of error still leaves those 0 elements untouched. Unfortunately, we have never seen such phenomena in real devices. Actually, those non-zero elements are even not that small. The errors from IBM device is always more complicated. So, we have to separate state preparation errors and measurement errors. You might notice that the argument we gave here is only one way. Based on our simulations, we could have those conclusions that were from real data. However, with only those real data we had, we cannot determine that the case in our simulations is the only solution. As we mentioned in previous videos, we solve an undercompleted problem, and we could have multiple solutions. There might be solutions that only have small state preparation errors and make that assumption acceptable. We did try to find that kind of solutions. We haven't found anything truly fit the reality well. So, even though this simulation is a one-way proof, we believe that the conclusion we had for this project is valid. Especially we haven't seen anything better. If we were really particular with it, theoretically, qiskit tomography might provide a solid validation, but there are still some problems with that. First, qiskit tomography is expensive, especially for crowd users. We could definitely implement that on IBM Crowd. It is possible for 1 qubit, but it is consuming. Besides, qiskit tomography assumes Markovian process. In practice, when we implement that in IBM quantum experience, we could not run all the circuits at once. We have to divide those into batches. One batch can hold up to 15 circuits. So, in reality, To run qiskit tomography, we divide hundreds of circuits into several batches. All of them wait in the queue, but not back to back. The circuits within one batch were ran together. After the first batch finished, the second batch has to wait for an unknown time, depending on how many jobs were pending there. We can't control that. Similar for all the following batches. What I want to say is, the Markovian assumption may not be valid, so we still have to put a question mark for the validity of its result. Third, there is a gauge problem for qiskit tomography. Considering the cost and gain, I haven't done qiskit tomography to validate our results. But it is possible, and this might provide a more convincing proof.